a closer look at the changing retail landscape. We're joined by Mark Cohen. He's the Director of Retail Studies at Columbia Business School and the former CEO of Sears Canada. Mark, there's a lot to get into here. I'd first just like your sense of what HBC's up to with this sale of the Lord & Taylor location. What do you think is going on there?
Well, first you sell, you've got a big ship. It's out in the middle of the ocean. It's run out of fuel. It's under tremendous pressure from an activist who's demanding that the management of the company do something, largely by way of reconciling the fact that they're more a real estate company than a retailer. And so the Lord & Taylor ship sees its deck chairs being thrown into the boiler, then the superstructure, and now finally the hull. You don't typically sell off all or substantially all of your flagship store and expect any kind of a successful future as a result. So I think this foretells the demise of Lord & Taylor, which, as you know, is one of the integral divisions of HBC.
And if we are looking at the demise of Lord & Taylor, are we by necessity at least looking at the potential for the demise of HBC? I mean, the big question here is HBC going to go down the same path that Sears went down?
I think HBC has issues. They're different than Sears, but they're significant in and of themselves. The fact is they have a very, very aggressive activist who's demanding that the company reconcile its real estate holdings against its debt. They are not doing all that well, and that in and of itself is a crisis as we approach the holiday season. They've made a very aggressive play in Europe in their acquisition of Kaufhof and their intent to open as many as 20 stores under the Bay brand. Their Saks entry into Canada, I'm told, is not done particularly well. And their off-price division, Saks Off Fifth, is not doing anything like what they had forecast. So, it's tough news on the retail side. From a financial point of view, they're heavily loaded with debt. This sale of the Lord & Taylor headquarters and other space throughout Canada does give them a little bit of relief. The question is, will it be enough? And in my view, that's not going to be the case. So this is a company under pressure, likely to remain under pressure. They could very well become the house of cards that Sears actually did become.
I want to shift gears back into Sears, if you don't mind for a second here. Eddie Lampert is the CEO of Sears' parent company. He had this blog post where he was pretty pointed and pointing fingers at the blame was not with him. You've raised serious questions about him using Sears as something of an ATM. What do you make of the blog post and him sort of trying to turn the blame onto Stranzel and the executive group that was running Sears at the end?
He's been writing blogs or investment letters for years, which render people like me completely speechless. But this takes the cake. This statement he's made that someone else is to blame for the demise of Sears Canada is simply outrageous. Since 2005, when he took over Sears Roebuck and Sears Canada, he has made all of the decisions. He has put all of the CEOs in their seats. They have all been puppets. He has caused the company to sell off virtually all of its valuable assets, including its credit card portfolio, and the proceeds have been dividended back to the shareholder, which of course is Eddie Lampert himself. So for him to take the view that this is somehow someone else's fault, let alone point the finger at the last CEO, who in fact is one of his own people who he appointed, is kind of outrageous. I just can't imagine that he would have the gall to try to insinuate that this is someone else's fault and point the finger at them. I just can't imagine how he could write those words and believe them.
Well, listen, we're out of time, but it is always good to get your insight, and there's a lot going on with this story. We'd love to get you back on and talk about it as the next big milestone comes at us. Mark Cohen, the Director of Retail Studies at Columbia Business School and, of course, the former CEO of Sears Canada.